Hi everyone, and welcome to the first part of the tutorial on Amazing Grace in the arrangement by Tommy Emmanuel. Let's start by rolling the top tier patrons while we go over a few things. The full tutorial for Amazing Grace is made up out of 3 or 4 parts, I'm not sure yet, and only this first part will be released on YouTube. For full access and loads of extras, please head over to my Patreon page. If you only need the tab or notation file, then check the music notes link down below in the description. I'll be honest and admit that of all the songs that were requested so far, Amazing Grace scared me the most. And not because of the technical side of things, but because of the vast range of dynamics that Tommy uses when he performs the song live. He takes this song from a whisper all the way to a thunderstorm and back. In this first part, we are starting things off slow with a free time section that introduces you to the chord sequence, the famous melody, and a number of often returning chord voicings. If you get this first part down, you are already well armed to tackle the rest of the tune. Okay, straight to playing then. Now, 2 quick pointers. First, the guitar is in standard tuning, or at least this guitar is in standard tuning. Tommy mostly plays this song on a guitar that is tuned down 1.5 step from C sharp to C sharp. To make things easy for you, I'm just going to show you everything on a standard tuned acoustic, so you don't have to set up a separate guitar or tune down each and every time you want to play this song. But in between each and every verse, I'm going to pick up my trusty old Martin, which is already waiting for me in the corner. I've tuned that guitar down to C sharp, and then I can give you sort of a taste what the version I'm showing you sounds like if you play it on a down-tuned acoustic. The second pointer is the first 2 verses are played with a traditional fingerstyle technique, which means no pick or no thumb pick. In the 3rd verse, Tommy does switch over to a flat pick or a plectrum, so you might want to keep one close by when you're playing the song live. Tommy puts it on his leg, he puts it in between his lips, he sometimes tucks it away in his picking hand somewhere. Whatever you go for, we'll have a quick look at that when we approach that 3rd verse. But in this video, you won't see any pick or thumb pick pop up because it's not needed for those first 2 verses. That being said, it's time we start playing. I'm going to play through the first verse all the way, and as always, the explanation will follow on the other side. Straight into the next verse. There's quite a lot to unpack here, but let's have a look at each and every chord voicing. Good news is a lot of what you're going to play in this first verse is repeated in the 2nd verse. Apart from the fact that this first verse is played more or less free time, you can sort of choose where you speed up and slow down. And then in the 2nd verse, we are going to take most of the same fingerings, most of the same melody parts, and we're going to move that into a more steady tempo. So we're starting out with the easiest part first before really tightening up and getting everything, so to speak, on a metronome click. Let's have a look at that intro section. Starting out with the ring finger on the 4th fret, sliding up to the 6th fret, sliding up to the 7th fret. All with the ring finger, because if you end up on that 9th fret with the ring finger, your hand is in perfect position to play the next chord shape. You don't have to move around anymore. While you perform that slide going up, you play an open B string alongside that. So the first two pitches are the exact same thing, B string, open, and a B note on the G string. Slide up, and you try to keep that B note ringing out, to still keep that ringing out as you arrive on the 9th fret. Open E string on top, open E string down below. Then you move the ring finger to the 9th fret on the D string, index finger on the 7th fret B string, and you're going to hammer on with the pinky to the 9th fret on the B string. So that's the melody. Pull off to the 7th fret again, while making sure that ring finger on the D string keeps ringing out. Pinky to the 9th fret on the G string and back to the 9th fret. Tommy sometimes just picks this note, or he uses another one of those really quick hammer-ons. See, whatever works for you. You do this while you make sure that both that low E string and that B note on the 9th fret on the D string keep ringing out. And then a trick you're going to perform a lot in this song. And if you've played songs by Tommy like Questions before, this is going to be nothing new. A really quick slide with the pinky going up to the 10th fret and straight back down, while still keeping that ring finger down and while still making sure that that note rings out. If you've played a song like Questions before by Tommy, this is nothing new. If this is the first time you are encountering this little trick, then you are in for quite a rough ride, because Tommy is using this trick all over the song and your pinky will be getting quite the workout from the start. So quickly, that's all that happens. And then straight away, one of the first fingerings I'm changing. This is what Tommy plays. Middle finger, 6th fret on the D string, index finger, 5th fret on the G string, pinky, 7th fret on the B string, and you're going to be quickly again shifting up and down with the pinky to and from the 8th fret. And after that, Tommy adds in the thumb on the 4th fret on the low E string. Now this isn't an easy chord. Keeping that voicing down, making sure it rings out, and then adding in the thumb over the side of the neck. So I go for this fingering. I'm just swapping out the index finger and middle finger for the middle finger and ring finger, keeping the index finger open to play the same bass note. So this is what Tommy does. Thumb. And this is what I played in the intro. So that's what I played in the intro. Now, to be honest, that slide with the pinky going up and down is a little bit easier if you start out from this voicing, using the index finger and middle finger, but then you do have to have the range to add that thumb over the side of the neck. If it doesn't work, go for this. The slide up and down is a little bit more awkward, but you do have the index finger to spare to play that low G sharp from the top. And then to an A chord. If you use the index finger, then it is a logical thing to use an open string. Tommy uses the thumb over the side of the neck and shifts the thumb up to play the A chord as well. See, whatever works for you, but you can go for either this is what Tommy plays, thumb over the side of the neck, ring finger 7th fret on the D string, middle finger 6th fret on the G string, and then an open B string and E string. But you could just as well go for either the index finger on the low E string or just an open A string. Sounds exactly the same. Thumb, index finger, open A string. Exactly the same thing. I find myself most of the time even just going for the open A string. If you come down from the voicing with the thumb, then moving the thumb to the 5th fret might be a logical thing to do. Once more. playing that A chord, then you move down to the open position and you are going to play an A sharp diminished chord, index finger, first fret on the A string, middle finger, second fret on the D string, open G string, and you're going to hammer on from an open B string to the second fret using the ring finger. And ending up on an open E string. That's already the next chord, moving to an E chord. But first let me play those first few bars all the way up to this point. So once you end up on that A sharp diminished chord, you just move the index finger over to the first fret on the G string, giving you an E major chord with an added 16 there. And we're going to pull off from that second fret on the B string straight away to an open B string again. So you hammer on the diminished chord and straight away back to the open B string as soon as you end up on the E chord. Then we move into a sneaky little trick that Tommy, I've seen him use this a few times before. Middle finger, second fret on the low E string, index finger, second fret on the D string, ring finger, second fret on the G string. Don't go for this. I know this might seem like the more logical option, but we're going to shift down the index finger in just a second. E string, D string, G string, and then without repicking, sliding down on the D string. That is where that fourth note suddenly comes from. And then open B string, open E string. You could see this as an F sharp minor chord moving to a B dominant 7th chord with an F sharp in the bass, ending back up on an E chord. Classic 2-5-1 progression, very common in jazz music. Back to an E chord. So, and that sort of concludes the first section, moving through the melody and ending back up on the first chord. And now we're going to repeat the melody. First, let me play those first 4 bars all the way really slowly up to this point. Into an E chord. Now the pinky is going to get the workout I promised you. Now we're going to move through a lot of those really highly embellished melodies. Open E string, so you end up just on the E chord after full E chord, low E string, G string, B string, E string, all at the same time. Sliding up to the 4th fret using the ring finger, and again we're going to keep this finger down throughout the next melody. Index finger, 2nd fret, hammering on with the pinky to the 4th fret, and then again sliding up and down and pulling back off. There's a lot of legato techniques, sliding, hammer-ons, pull-offs in really quick succession to each other, so make sure, I know it may sound a bit strange, make sure that you finish each and every technique before initiating the next. So don't think about performing the pull-off before completing that slide down completely, because things will get very messy. Really slowly it sounds like this. Hammering on, sliding, sliding back, pull-off, pull-off. That is the full section, now with that E chord in front of that. And then we move into a C sharp minor 7th chord. We're holding down, still holding down that ring finger, exact same spot. We're again going to hammer on from the 2nd fret to the 4th fret on the high E string using the index finger and the pinky. But now we add in the middle finger on the 4th fret on the A string. Back to back. And And that hammer on now, that first one is a bit more lazy. It's an 8th note, so you can really make that 2nd fret sound out on the C sharp minor chord. It's not a quick embellishment, really make that 2nd fret speak when you play that chord. And again, while holding down everything, back to the 2nd fret, hammering on, pull off to the open string. So 2nd fret on the top E string, hammering onto the 4th fret, pulling off to the 2nd fret, pulling off to the open string from the E chord. 2nd fret, 4th fret, and now Tommy is pulling a really sneaky trick, but something that only seems to work well when you tune down the acoustic guitar. While still holding down everything, he plays the 2nd fret, repicks it, 4th fret, and then without actually picking the string, he pulls off to the 2nd fret while sliding up to the 7th fret. It's hard to notice. That is what is happening. So, and I'm not picking that last note. So, and you can sort of hear that note almost sliding up out of nowhere. It's a bit harder to do on a standard tuned acoustic, but it works really well when you tune the acoustic down. If you have the feeling that this note doesn't carry enough weight in this way when sliding up to the 7th fret, then just repick it. So Tommy's original technique, no picking there, or just repicking it. Whatever works for you. The point is, you end up with the index finger on the 7th fret on the high E string, ready to add in the next chord, which is an F sharp minor chord, middle finger on the 9th fret on the A string, ring finger 9th fret on the G string, pinky 10th fret on the B string, and you keep that index finger down on the 7th fret on top. Tommy then plays an arpeggio. Basically going up and down through the chord shape. You first end up in front of the beat with that high B note that is still ringing out on the 7th fret, and then you play just going up and down through the chord shape, A string, G string, B string, E string, B string, G string, moving that middle finger to the 9th fret on the low E string, dropping down to the 8th fret, so sorry, starting on the 9th fret, dropping down to the 8th fret, and then adding in the ring finger on the 8th fret on the D string, and a small bar across 2 strings, G string and B string on the 7th fret. For a C dominant 9th chord with a flat 5 on top. Full section, back to back. Let me start from that slide going up, roughly around there. And then thumb over the side of the neck, 7th fret. Index finger, 7th fret on the D string. Ring finger and pinky on the 8th fret on the G string and B string. And then all the way at the end, you will have to add in the middle finger on the 7th fret on top as well. That's the full chord. B dominant 7th with a sharp 5 or a raised 5th in there. And Tommy now adds in the first special technique. Now, before we continue, you can swap out the chord for this. If you don't like using the thumb over the side of the neck, then go for this, but then you will have to use, or you have to change the very last chord in just a second. So, but you could also play index finger, middle finger, both on the 7th fret, E string and D string, and then ring finger, pinky, both on the 8th fret, G string and B string. Now, Tommy is going to use a sort of a tremolo technique for the very first time, and he's going to basically brush from side to side using the index finger or the middle finger. I think Tommy uses the index finger. For me, it just seems a little bit more natural to use the middle finger. What he's going to do is basically just going to brush from side to side. This is a really loose wrist movement. Don't tense up the arm or the effect will be gone altogether. I found, because this was a new technique for me as well, that the trick lies in not lifting the finger off of the string. So I'm basically trying to brush the strings, going from the low E string to the top E string, back to the low E string, without removing the finger from the strings at all. So you're not, when you're strumming with the plectrum, you're moving up and down and the plectrum is removed and put back on the strings. In this movement, you keep contact with the strings at all time. Tommy does put in quite of a serious first attack, really strumming down and then sort of lessening the volume and really tensing up the tremolo effect. It's not easy to do in the beginning, but if you practice this, always make sure the arm, the wrist, the fingers, they all remain really, really relaxed. This is how it sounds if I put that together, that last section. So I'm just really lightly strumming from side to side. As you can see, I'm not putting down the middle finger yet because Tommy uses that top note as the very ending of that tremolo section. So he strums the chord, and then when he decides it's been long enough, he adds in the middle finger and finishes it up. And that top note, that 7th fret on the high E string, that B note, is when the chord is concluded, when the tremolo action stops. One more time. From there on, you start again into the second part of the first verse. Let me put that last section together, starting from the F sharp minor chord. And I really think the trick to that last section, to that tremolo, is don't be afraid to give that first chord a serious strum, so that very first one. Just go for it, and then after that, drop down the volume straight away to make sure that that tremolo sounds as even as possible. Let me try to play that second section, the last 4 bars, back to back with each other really slowly. B note concludes the chord. That was the first part of the verse. Let me try and play all the way through what we already saw up to this point, really slowly one more time before continuing into the second half. On to the next section. Open E string, a quick slide, a 6th interval, ring finger, pinky on the 7th fret, on the D string and G string, sliding up to the 9th fret. Adding in the index finger on the 7th fret on the high E string, and then Tommy drops down the index finger all the way to the 5th fret while holding down those the ring finger and the pinky on the 9th fret and slides back up to the 7th fret. This is a difficult, or this will be a difficult embellishment for a lot of people. If you can't manage that stretch, then just play the 7th fret 2 times. That is what Tommy does. So he goes back down to the 5th fret and then picks the D string, B string and E string at the same time and quickly slides back up to the 7th fret. If that doesn't work, then just do this. Just pick that 7th fret 2 times in a row. Low open E string, and then we move to a D dominant 7 chord shape. You know this one. hopefully middle finger 2nd fret, index finger 1st fret, ring finger 2nd fret. We start on the one fret up on the 2nd fret, looking at the index finger for navigation, and we're quickly going to slide it down. So low open E string, sliding down from the 3rd fret to the 2nd fret, and then we will pull off on the top E string. That ring finger will pull off to an open E string. Back to a low open E string, we move back up to the 2nd fret, and now we slide up to the 3rd fret. So that full section, all using the exact same chord shape. Thumb over the side of the neck on the 4th fret, low E string, really short, because this is just one bass note. And then Tommy moves with the ring finger to the 7th fret on the B string and is going to perform a bend, a slow bend, going from the 7th fret, F sharp, to G sharp, or how the string sounds at the 9th fret. But really slowly, so he really takes his time to work up that pitch. Sometimes he likes to add an embellishment on the 6th fret on the G string as well. Then you get this. So that really quick, just using the index finger, and that note is gone instantly. Again, if you're new to bending on an acoustic guitar, leave out the embellishment in the beginning, just play the bend by itself. Then we're going to follow that up. Then 5th fret on the high E string, 7th fret on the high E string, and then we're going to drop that same bend down, not necessarily starting from the 9th fret as a pitch, but this time from the 8th fret. So a quick pre-bend going back down. So you bend up the string before you pick it, and you drop down to the original pitch, being the 7th fret. A lot of electric guitar techniques are going to pop up now. So for those of you who play a little bit of electric guitar, this will be familiar. For purely acoustic players, this might be some new material as well. Let me start from the E chord one more time. And I'm guessing this is going to be the tricky one for the pure acoustic players among you, is that really quick drop down. So you bend up slightly, so you get to the pitch of the 8th fret, G natural, and you drop down instantly back to the 7th fret. If bending isn't your thing, use a quick slide from the 8th fret to the 7th fret. So whatever you use, the quick slide to an open E string or the bend, that open E string on top is going to give you the necessary cover to move back to the open position, 1st fret, using the middle finger and ring finger on the 2nd fret on the D string and the B string. Play together to an open E string, and again a really quick bend, and a really quick bend from the 2nd fret going up to the 3rd fret. Again, if this is not your thing, then just slide up to the 3rd fret, works just as well. Back to the open E string while adding in the index finger on the 1st fret on the low A string. Second fret on the B string, again we're going for an A sharp diminished chord voicing here, but you don't necessarily have to put all of the fingers down before moving into yet another E chord. We'll get to that in a second. First, the timing of that last bar. So we start on that quick bend going down. That's the timing. So swing notes, just one triplet in the middle there. 1, 2, 3. Ending up on that E chord, but an E chord, you're not playing the low E note down below, you're playing the B 2nd fret on the A string. And just moving up through the arpeggio, playing the A string and the E string at the same time, and then D string, G string, B string, just moving up and down through the arpeggio. second fret on the A string to the third fret, just shifting up the middle finger to the third fret, going for a C diminished chord this time. Ring finger fourth fret on the D string, index finger second fret on the G string, pinky fourth fret on the B string, and again an open E string on top. And you're going to play the E string, B string, E string, B string 2 times, all the way at the end of that arpeggio. So. And now, the tricky one. Tommy goes for a C sharp minor ninth chord voicing with a G sharp in the bass. Just as an exception, I'm going to go through the chord or over the chord in reverse order. Open E string, pinky, fourth fret on the B string, ring finger, fourth fret on the G string, index finger, second fret on the D string, and then Tommy pulls off that signature trick of his, playing the low E string and the A string with the same finger, giving you not only a C sharp minor ninth chord, but he also plays a G sharp down below in the bass, which I find really tricky to pull off. So I can do it, but it really takes a lot of trying and figuring out to get that arpeggio to sound right. So what I do is, instead of using the middle finger for those 2 strings down below, I use the thumb, which is again not for everyone. Usually I'm looking for a way to avoid the thumb to help you out. This time I'm adding it in. So I'm playing the fourth fret on the low E string and the A string, sorry, low E string and A string at the fourth fret with the thumb. And then I can get that full arpeggio. Granted, it's not easy to keep that E string open on top using this fingering. If you struggle with this, if it's not possible to play those 2 strings using just the middle finger, if it's not possible to use the thumb over the side of the neck, then just go for the C sharp fourth fret on the A string as a bass note. It will sound fine. This is the version. I'm going to go for the thumb over the side of the neck, exactly the way Tommy plays it, apart from the fingering. So starting from the E chord. It's a beautiful chord with that G sharp down below. This is how it sounds if you drop the G sharp and just play the C sharp as a bass note. Which sounds fine as well. The most critical aspect of this part sounding right is making sure those 2 notes on top, that E and that D sharp, keep ringing out. That is what makes this chord change sounds so beautiful to my ears. So E chord, C diminished. So that those top notes that keep ringing out, that is what it's all about to my ears. If you really get that right, and adding in the chord underneath there, then I think there are probably very few people that are going to notice that one missing bass note. Then from that C sharp minor ninth chord, we're concluding the first verse. Keep the ring finger where it's at, fourth fret, and using the same trick. We've used that voicing before now, the exact same thing as on the E chord. Ring finger, fourth fret, index finger, second fret on the high E string, hammering on, sliding up, down, pull off, pull off. Exact same thing as the first time. 2, an F sharp major chord. Tommy uses the thumb over the side of the neck, second fret. Ring finger, third fret on the G string, index finger, second fret on the high E string, hammering on to the fourth fret with the pinky. You could use a bar as well. If you don't want to use the thumb over the side of the neck, then just go for the bar. Sounds just as good. So from the C sharp minor chord, simple bass note going up. So open A string, index finger first fret, middle finger second fret, adding the ring finger to the second fret on the G string and the pinky on the third fret on the high E string. And you're going to slide straight back down to the second fret. So that's what happens. Pinky on the third fret, and as you pick the G string and the E string at the same time, quickly sliding down. Pulling off to an open E string on top, and then a descending chord pattern to close everything down with. Then pinky and ring finger, fourth fret on the low E string and G string, 2, second fret, index finger, middle finger, ring finger on the low E string, D string and E string, and ending up on an E chord. So that last chord section is. If you're careful, you can even use that voicing on the G chord. Just drop it down 2 frets and go for the E chord like that. It's a little bit easier. One very specific thing Tommy always does is he mutes the second chord in that descending pattern. And keeps everything else ringing out. So A, E, F sharp, E. And he always seems to do that just on that second chord. Long, short, long, long. And that very last chord, sometimes he just plays a full E chord, sometimes he leaves out the index finger and hammers it on as a little extra embellishment all the way at the end. Then he switches back to a B dominant 7th voicing, middle finger 2nd fret, index finger 1st fret, ring finger 2nd fret on the G string, then starting from an open B string, hammering on with the pinky to the 2nd fret, to an open E string, which is the lead-in into the 2nd verse. And then into the next verse. You don't even need that index finger on the 1st fret. You can even leave it out if you want to. But before we head into the next verse, first let me play those last 8 bars slowly all the way through, and then I'm going to recap the first verse in full. But first, the last 8 bars. Straight into the next verse. Again, this last section, especially that section around those arpeggios, those are the parts where you can really feel that free time aspect in the first verse. So stretch it, compress it in terms of time, however you like it best. You'll be playing more than enough in tempo for the rest of the song, so really take your time in this first section. That being said, one final recap really slowly of the first verse before continuing into number 2. Here we go. straight into the next verse. Before we continue to the next verse, first let me show you how this exact version sounds on an acoustic guitar tuned down 1.5 steps. Here we go. That low tuning gives it such a deep, wonderful sound. You're almost tempted to leave everything even ringing out longer, to play it even slower, because just that full E chord by itself, or that full E shape by itself, just sounds so big and wonderful. I really enjoy playing through it. Also notice that this trick, that just sounds a lot more clear when you're doing that on an acoustic that is tuned down. Anyway, I hope you have fun working through this first verse. Get all the fingerings exactly right, because you will have to reuse each and every one of them in verse 2, but then we will be sticking to a steady tempo instead of playing this stuff free time. I'll see you there. Bye bye.